Hey guys, Bukoid here. Hey, I'm going to give you a video. It's just going to be an update on the earthquake situation that's going on out west. Also, what's contributing to causing this. And Scott did a live stream today, and it was awesome. He's come up with a different technique here to show everybody what's going on inside the coronal holes. It's a really cool technique. I'm not sure exactly how he does it yet, but it definitely does give you a better visual of what's actually happening and what a solar, what a coronal hole is. He's going to explain that here, and we're going to listen to it because he does a really good job of explaining it. I've not explained it that way before, so hopefully this will help those of you that don't know exactly what a coronal hole is understands why this is even a thing that we talk about. So here we go.
Spacecraft that is between the Earth and the Sun. It's about 1 million miles away from the Earth, and it monitors the Sun in extreme ultraviolet wavelengths of light. That's why the Sun looks like it's purple. But this allows us to see these coronal holes and also the diminishing of the Sun's corona. I don't know if you guys have noticed over the last couple of years, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, the outer corona here has drastically shrunk since 2016, 17, 18, and here we are. It's pretty well depleted. Now that could be caused by this solar minimum that the Sun's been sinking into. But this coronal hole right here that's shaped like a triangle, I have set this video capture all the way back to July 1st through today. So everything that you're going to see is current. You're also going to see some different views, and I'm going to be showing you this new technique that I'm using in order to see the activity down inside of these dark regions, these coronal holes. Now, just to get up on the science, if you're new to all of this, whenever you see this, let's just say this cloudy area all the way around the Sun, the lighter color, that's kind of like the Sun's atmosphere. When the Sun's atmosphere parts and a coronal hole is produced, like the one you see on your screen now, shaped like a triangle, right there. Whenever those openings open up, all of those heavily charged particles are now spewing right out of that coronal hole, facing the Earth at this position, and those particles are streaming very, very fast, 300, 400, 500, 600 kilometers per second, and they're making their journey 93 million miles from the Sun to the Earth. And they do continue. Once they pass the Earth, they do continue to go on and on. So
now, I have to say that was probably one of the best explanations I've heard of how to explain to somebody that doesn't know what a coronal hole is. That was awesome. I mean, the way that it was brought down to, like an atmosphere and parting it away so you could see it. And that was a very, very good visual analogy. So hopefully that helped you guys that didn't know, that are kind of new to all this, what a coronal hole is. And you also heard him talk about charged particles, which is what is in the solar wind. Okay, we talk about the density, the ion density. We talk about the solar wind itself. You heard him say 300, 400, 500, 600 kilometers per second. Okay, and I think I showed you guys in my previous video how to convert that over to miles per hour. But those two things together is what affects our magnetosphere. Okay, now why this whole situation before this coronal hole was an issue was our magnetosphere was reacting as if we were getting hit with these solar winds. Okay, but there were no coronal holes. Okay, there was no reason for us to be getting hit with the energy that we were. Okay, that's why this became an issue to begin with. Okay, that's why it surprised all of us. It surprised even the people that, the agencies here, I guess NASA or NOAA, whoever does these, it surprised them in the way that their predictive models were completely wrong. They were predicting low winds and hardly any density at all, okay? And it was almost exact opposite of that, okay? And it came in waves, and we continued to get it, and we still do continue to get it, okay? But now, this coronal hole right here was facing us roughly 3 days ago, three and a half days ago, okay? So the solar wind stream from this is actually hitting us now, but okay, we have to keep in mind that what happened just 3 or 4 days ago is probably still playing a factor in why our magnetosphere is acting the way it does. Now I have to go back to what he said a minute ago, charged particles. Okay, so when you're talking about charged particles, you're talking about magnetics, electricity, all those kinds of things, right? So you got a positive and a negative and all those kinds of things. So it makes sense that it would affect us magnetically, our magnetosphere or our shields. Now he goes on in this video, and I want you guys to go check it out because it's really cool, the technique he uses. I'm not going to show it here. I want you guys to go check it out over his channel. But it really shows a very, very good visual of what is going on inside these holes and why we get those charged particles. Okay? Now, again, he talked about, and I've talked about this too, you take 2 magnets, you put it on a table, you can play around with them, they'll push and pull and all those kinds of things. Well, you add a 3rd magnet to something and it totally changes all of it. Okay? And that's what's going on. Okay? We're all connected to the sun. Alright? You guys have to understand that. That is our, and I'm going to go to some models here. Matter of fact, I think I'm just going to go ahead and back out of this real quick, and I'll take you over to those models. We're going to go to, well, let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to take you over here and just let you guys see this first, because I think you got to be able to see what's going on currently. And that's why I'm doing this video, because we're getting hit with big waves right now. Okay, and I would have to say this is coming from that coronal hole, but I think it's also being influenced by this other magnetic field or multiple magnetic fields that's very, very strong. He came across an article talking about the cloudy mass that was covering this stellar core. Okay, it has its magnetic field also. It has its own. So, I mean, you're talking so many factors here, guys, that magnetically, that's going to affect us, and it's not going to, in other words, it makes it very, very complicated to even decide where this stuff is coming from. All right, but when we don't have an answer from the sun, like a coronal hole, all right, or a CME or a solar flare, such and such, it has to come from somewhere else. All right, there's no other source. The sun is a very strong source, guys. We shouldn't be able to really push anything that way. Or, in other words, the sun should be having the biggest impact on us. And frankly, guys, sometimes it's not. I do think that it's this Planet X object and all the stuff that's with it that is influencing what's going on. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to load these up as I talk. This is the ISWA site, guys, and I take you guys here very, very often. I try to keep up on this as best I can. Sometimes it is hard to keep up on all the info, which is why Scott was talking about it takes a team. And I would suggest everybody go over to his group he's got set up, Planet X News Facebook group. Everybody gets in, okay? He doesn't deny anybody. You can't go in there and be crazy and start talking bad about other people there or talking about just crazy stuff, okay? We already talk about crazy enough stuff, but you start, doing certain crazy things, and you probably won't stick around very long. But yeah, I mean, it takes a team. So go over there, sign up for that, and we talk there. It's very easy to talk to one another over there. Is what I'm trying to say. It's instantaneous. We can communicate back and forth. I'm still, and Scott is too. I'm assuming going to be putting out these YouTube videos as much as we can. But at the same time, those of you guys that have been around for a while are able to share your guys' information with us almost instantaneously without having to go through emails, without having to wait on responses here and there. Okay, now, we don't live on Facebook. Okay, I can tell you that right now. I'm sure it gets monitored. I monitor it often. I'm sure Scott does too. I know he does. Okay, so, but what I'm saying is, have a little patience, is what I'm saying. It takes a minute to, especially once the Facebook group is getting bigger. It seems like every day right now. So the more and more people we get in there, and you guys need to converse amongst yourselves, okay? We found a lot of information just from that. So I really think that this is a good thing. If we can get that group to grow and continue to grow, and eventually just encompass all of us that really want to get to the truth, and that's what we'll do. But that's why we can't be on there being crazy and being stupid and talking bad to one another and all those kinds of things, or calling somebody dumb, they're just completely wrong, and all those kinds of things. Okay, we can't do that to one another over there. Or I'm a moderator over there also, so I mean, if I see it, I'm just going to delete the comment, probably give you one chance. And Scott wants me to block people like that. Okay, so just know that we want to keep the conversation to that. We want to try to learn and get to the truth. That's my point. Now, anyway, this is the magnetopause or magnetic shield field, whatever you want to call it here. I don't want to go into technical terms here and confuse anybody, but this is one of the graphs I show you guys all the time, the models. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to run through and show you what's going on. So I'm just going to grab the slide bar. Now you're seeing something I've noticed, okay, as I'm moving this even slow. If you look out here in the front, or even all over, guys, I mean, you're seeing like little itty bitty ripples. Okay, those little ripples is magnetic energy. Okay, now you seen that one, that actually kind of went all the way across. It's amazing if you slow this down and really go look at it yourself, because you'll see a lot more than what I can show you. Okay, now you see that. Okay, whenever we see something like that, we stop. Okay, because that should not happen during normal conditions, I should say. Okay, now again, you see, and Scott was talking about, and I've talked about this multiple times also, compression. You see how this is our shield out here in the front. You see how far it got compressed in? I mean, that almost got compressed inside our satellite orbit. That's what these are. That's what this line is. That's where our satellites are orbiting at. Okay? So, with that being said, we're looking down at a top view of the Earth. Okay? So, that's why the orbit looks like it does there. But did you see how that jumped? Okay? Now, whenever you see a jump like that, you also have to check your timestamp. These come in 4-minute captures. Okay, so if you see something jump like at a half hour, then it makes sense that it could have moved further. But when we see, we'll try to catch that again. Okay, let's see here if I can catch it and show you guys a timestamp. All right, now did you see what happened there? Okay, now you see that right there. That's the beginning of the impact. Okay, I'm gonna back it up to there. That was at 21:38. Then we see 21:34 is that. Okay, we start compressing. 21:50. All right, this is all okay, and then 21:50 to 21:54 to 22:02. Look what happens. Okay, we got hit right there. All right, that was a wave that come through, hit us, and our magnetic shields reacted. Okay, we compress, and then watch this. This is a great example of what we call rapid expansion. Okay, we got hit, it compressed us. Now the Earth is pushing back, and boom, see how far out we compress? All right, and then if we keep going here, I think we see a second one, if I'm not mistaken. We're seeing waves and waves again. Okay, is what I'm trying to say. All right, now I'm going to show you this other graph real quick. I'm going to show you this one first. This one shows directional. Okay, if you look at the arrows, it shows you the direction of the energy is moving. Okay, now we're going to see this wave here too. Okay, you see that in the back? Now, what I want you to notice, and what was strange about this for me, is you see how there's nothing going on in the front? Our bow shock out here in the front is fine. It's not moving around. It's not bouncing. It's not being affected by anything. But yet, we still see something develop back here magnetically and move on off past the Earth. Okay, you see it developing right there? And there's nothing going on in the front. So what happened right there? We reacted to something, but it did not come from the sun direction. Okay, and then look. And right behind it, here's that big wave. Look at that. Okay, bam. Now, when we see this, the first thing we want to look at is solar wind. Okay, this isn't the most accurate, but just to get a ballpark, it's okay to look at. Okay, now we'll go over to space weather to get a really good, accurate solar wind speed. But you know that right there, sometimes that thing will creep up. And again, this is 4-minute increments, so I mean you're getting a reading every 4 minutes. Now you see what that thing does. 422 now. Look at this. Okay, 596. That's almost 600 kilometers per second. All right, 638. Okay. Now we've seen these kinds of winds before. We've even seen them up towards 1,000 kilometers a second, even over that. Okay, during big storms. Okay. But you see all this. Now, why am I even talking about all this? Because this directly affects the chances of our earthquakes. Okay? This is the main reason why I'm doing this video. Because Scott said it best over there in his video, and I've not really talked about it much because I'm not as versed in these earthquakes as most people are that report on this, and I'm getting better at it. But he said something that rang home with me, that this energy that hits us, sometimes it takes a minute for it to get into the Earth's mantle. It can be up to 3 days later after we take a hit like this that our earthquakes will react, or our plates will move, or what have you. Okay, it can be immediate also, but sometimes it takes a minute for this energy to actually get to us. So basically what I'm saying, guys, is when we get hit with something like this, we have to pay attention to the earthquakes after this. Okay? It doesn't matter where this came from when we're talking about earthquakes. All that matters is that we got hit with something right there. I'm not even going to go into what we think that is right now. And again, I think it's a combination of that coronal hole and the Planet X object, and plus just so many different magnetic fields out there that we're getting just bombarded, and this is just going to get more intense. Okay? We're going to go through lull periods, but then we're going to go through periods where things are really, really upticking. Okay? Now, I want you guys to kind of understand what's going on with this graph right here. Okay? There's times when you're going to get on here and we're going to see these things. You're going to see arrows pushing that direction. Okay? You got to keep in mind the sun's over here. So what in the world is strong enough to push back against the sun's energy? Okay? It's something magnetic. It has to be. It has to be something influencing us. And plus, our shields are so much more weak, guys. Okay? That's another huge factor here. Alright? And they're going to continue to get weaker and weaker and weaker as we get more and more into the solar cycles. Okay? This is not something that's just going to go away overnight. Alright? That's what I'm trying to say. So, this particular impact right here. Okay? Now, you're seeing it go up to like 600 for a second, the solar wind speed. Well, actually, it didn't right there. It might on the back end. Okay, yeah, there it goes. Okay? Now, if you take this same energy and you go back in time 5-6 years, okay? That same wind speed and all this same energy, when it hit us, we would not have reacted like this as bad. Yes, we would have reacted, okay? But the fact of the matter is, it's reacting more and more intense with less of a hit, okay? Normally, this big signature that we're seeing right here would take almost a 7, 8, up to 1,000 kilometers per second solar wind to really cause that. You know, and to influence us for the length of time that it has. Now, you know, there's always exceptions to that rule, but what I'm saying is, guys, this is something that, you know, 5-6 years ago, a lot of people didn't even talk about this because it wasn't that big of a deal, because we were just deflecting it off. Now this stuff is making it through, okay? And that takes you into the UV subject, okay? Radiation. Okay, all that radiation is part of what Scott was talking about. Okay, those charged particles, it's radiation. Some of that's radiation. So if we can't fend that off, which we're not like we used to, because we're seeing UVC on the surface now. And I've talked about this before. I did a video, you know, I suggest everybody go watch it. I'm going to be doing more on that because it's very important. Scott said it again, and I've been saying it. You know, I work in lawn care. We have to cover our skin. I've had people in my industry that have never ever been sunburnt for 15 years that are getting fried. Okay, they have such a deep, dark tan base that they don't get sunburnt, but yet they are this year. Okay, that's frontline information. All right, that's me seeing it with my own 2 eyeballs. That's people coming up to me saying, "Hey, I got burnt for the first time in 20 years. That literally was said to me last week. Okay, and these guys are in the sun every day on mowers. So when that happens, guys, we got to perk up and be like, what in the world is going on? But back to this earthquake thing. I mean, you see this, right? I mean, that is a very sizable disruption right there. It's very similar to the one we seen the other day when it wasn't coming from the solar wind. I think this is probably a combination of both. And why am I saying that? Well, when you see these arrows, they're pretty much horizontal and they're pretty much symmetrical. A lot of that energy is probably coming from the sun then, if it's like that. Now, when we start seeing stuff going at these weird angles, okay, which we do see it a little bit, and I'm going to show it to you real quick in this other model, if I can get to it. Is that it? Nope. Let's just minimize that. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that, guys. Come on, where you at? There you are. Okay. But this right here shows our connections. Okay, IMF are the blue lines. That's our connection to the sun. And you have to keep this in mind when I'm getting ready to say. Other celestial bodies. These blue lines will connect. They're supposed to connect us to the sun. But sometimes they break off and it connects to other celestial bodies. That's our connection to that stuff, magnetically. Okay, so when you see these blue lines getting ready to do what I'm getting ready to show you, you got to understand that it's probably not connecting to the sun. It's connecting to some other magnetic source. Okay, now you're going to see. I'm not sure if this time lapse went back far enough, but we'll see. Okay, now you're seeing. Okay, first thing I'm going to point out, guys. Let me get to it. It just popped on there just for a second. Okay, in a perfect world, these blue lines are straight and they're symmetrical, they're evenly spaced all the way down through here. Okay, but it doesn't stay like that very, very often. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. And you know, so you see them and they're kind of bending, doing these weird shapes, right? And I've talked about the ladder, the climbing ladder analogy, where if we get hit for something from the front, it kind of breaks them and it looks like you're breaking every rung on a ladder on the way down. That's not so out of the ordinary, okay? Is that really going to cause us a big problem? Probably not. But it is suggesting that, you know, we got hit with some energy that broke our magnetic connection. Okay, that's all that's really saying. But when we go ahead and go forward with this, okay, now obviously you guys seen that big ball red right there. Okay, those are closed field lines. When we are having solar winds and stuff like that, we'll see that a lot. Okay, it's not a huge deal unless we see it really, really dramatic. Now you seeing all this stuff right here. This is when I start paying attention. Okay, first thing I'm going to show you, and this was crazy when I looked at it. Okay, I gotta stop it in the right spot. See if I can find the right spot. Okay, now I'm gonna zoom in. You see this blue IMF line, okay? Now what I want you guys to keep your eye there, okay? See how it kind of moved up a little bit? Did this. Now you can look at these other little crazy little blue lines too. Why are they doing all those crazy shapes? Because we're getting ready to get hit magnetically. Okay, that's why they're doing that. Now, you see that bend? Okay, it's bending around us. Now, hold on a minute. I'm going to take you back because I want to show you something. That's probably going to be the best capture I can get for you. I don't know. We'll see. There it is. There it is. Okay. Now, you tell me, why are we seeing... Because these IMF lines should be going this direction, guys. So why, out in the front, are we seeing these things do this? What's going on here? Right? Well, what it is guys, we're being influenced by a third magnet. Okay? That's the only explanation for that. At least in my mind. Okay? We have to be being influenced by something else magnetically. Can solar winds cause that, or a high density solar wind? Maybe. I'm not really for sure. But I have to tell you that that's not normal. Okay? So, why am I even showing you stuff that's not normal? Because it will let you guys understand that when we get hit with these things, why it's affecting us so drastically right now. Okay? Now, this is a side view that we're looking at. Okay? You guys got to pay attention to this angle. Again, in a perfect world, we should be facing this way. Now, we're not physically moved down that way. I want you guys to understand that. It's our magnetics, it's our shields, it's our magnetopoles. It's getting pulled down that way. It isn't our north and south pole or our Earth tilting. It's the magnetic part of it. Okay? So I want you guys to really differentiate between that, because I get a lot of those things when we talk about pole shift. When we talk about pole shift, we're not talking about a crustal pole shift, okay? We're not talking about a physical spot on the Earth flipping over, okay? We're talking about the magnetics of our shields flipping. And when we say that, it flips from negative to positive and they go in the other direction, right? Okay? So anybody who knows what a magnet is kind of understands that, I would think. But, yeah. I have to say that because this is something else. This is where it becomes directional. Okay? This is why I don't think all this stuff is coming from the sun. Why are we getting buildup just right here of these IMF lines? You can see the direction of it. Okay? It's not building up here. It's coming from this direction. Now, we probably are still getting some solar winds from that coronal hole, but this is just adding to it. Okay? Now, you're seeing that pole line too. See the black line right there? That's coming off of our North Pole. This is the southern pole. Okay, why is the North Pole doing that crazy looking little signature there? Alright, now I'm going to go on through and I'll show you where the big hit was here just a minute ago. Okay, you seeing that building up in the front again? It's not going away. It's down in that direction. It's like the Earth knows, and that's why we're tilting down that way to protect ourselves. Okay, it's like the Earth knows it needs to do that. And it's probably getting pulled magnetically down that way is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so here we go. No, see that? Okay, guys, that's a big hit. That's all I'm going to say. That is a very, very big hit. Okay, look at that. That's very intense. And whenever you see these on this model here, you see a lot of the lines just kind of fade off into nothing. Okay, because we're getting so much energy, the connections are getting broke. All right, you see a lot of chaos here, and you see our shield just completely just compressed to the point where, wow, I mean, look at that. Now, I have to say, okay, we fended that off. You see the Earth fending that off. That did not get to our surface. Okay, that's good, but it wouldn't have done it this drastically 5 years ago. Okay, just letting you know. Now you see, now I've talked about rapid expansion, right? This is another example. See, we got compressed. Then in 4 minutes, look what it's doing. That's 8 minutes. See how we were pushing back so hard that we pushed out further than what we were to begin with? That's called rapid expansion. Okay? So you're seeing all this, right? You're seeing our pole lines. All, you know, whenever we get hit with those kinds of energies, it's natural for our magnetics just to go crazy. Okay? It just does. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just the way that nature is. It's the way we react. Okay? Now you see that. That's us regenerating. You see that? That's us trying to go back to normal with our shields, and it's creating that heat right there to fend off whatever's still there, and it's going out the back of our magnetopause. All right, that went around the Earth. It didn't hit us, okay, but some of the ions and stuff made it through, and it's going to get to our. That's what we're talking about. Some of this energy does get to the mantle, all right, and it affects our earthquakes. And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're talking about this. So when we get hit with these big ones, that's why it's important that we, talk about the earthquake danger after this stuff. Okay? And again, this just happened. All right? This is at 2200 UTC time, which would be, oh gosh, let's see here. I don't know, 6-7 hours ago, I guess, something like that. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all, guys, to see another earthquake today. I ain't saying there's going to be, but, it wouldn't surprise me. Now, in the next 3 or 4 days, I would almost expect something somewhere. It would probably be in about the same spot it has been. Okay? Because that's just the way they tend to go. I encourage everybody to go watch Dutch Sense. He's like the man on this. Okay? Seriously. Scott knows a lot about this too. Scott did mention something in his live stream too that I need to say, that those guys aren't going to talk about this our theory of Planet X and all that stuff going on, and they have their reasons, and I'm not going to sit here and slam anybody for those reasons. A lot of these guys are brilliant people. Dutch Sense is a very brilliant person, and for them to run him through what they're running him through is ridiculous, but he still does it. You know why? Because there's still good people out there, guys. That's what we can't forget that. All right? There's people out there that want to do the right thing at any cost. Okay? And frankly, to be honest with you, I've been attacked enough that I shouldn't even be doing this either. Scott's been attacked so much. There's so many people who've been attacked, okay? And it's ridiculous. But we still do this. Okay, and why? Because we actually give a crap. That's why. That's the only reason. So, I'm not going to sensationalize anything, because I don't do that here on my channel. I think you guys know that. At this point, it is what it is. And I'm going to continue bringing this information as long as they let me. So, now, this is the most current one. This was at 5. Well, this is just an hour ago. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, we got another wave coming. I bet if I updated this, it might have already moved. Okay, so I'm going to pause it. If you're ever on that, you hit this little button down here. You see that button I just hit? Right here. It'll update it for you automatically. It'll give you the most recent. So we'll take it to the end here. Yep, you see it? Look. That right there is what I just showed you. Okay, and then it's coming through again. See that? We're getting hit again right now as we speak. So, you know, it is what it is. There's not a whole lot more to talk about when we're talking about this, but just pay attention to the earthquakes, guys. I'm going to update this real quick and see what we got. Okay, let's go down here to the end. Yep, look. Another wave coming. We're starting to compress. You see our bow shock move? Okay, now you're seeing the solar winds go up too. Right here. And they may not all be solar winds. Okay, they're winds. That's just what I'm going to call them. It may not even be winds there. It could just be the tool reacting. You know, the best place to go to get solar winds, guys, and I'll just take you there real quick. Close off. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. It's space weather. Okay. It's spaceweather.com, I think. Scott's got a link over on his webpage. Go check that out. I'll show you guys that page about every video I do. But if you want to know the solar wind, the current solar wind, at least the most updated, what they're saying is right here. That's at 336 kilometers a second. You know, it is what it is. Obviously, you can look here. There is no geomagnetic storm right now, according to them. So, but what I want to show you guys here, why I got you here, and I really wanted to show this because this is important. This model right here, okay, you're going to see, okay, today is the 7th, right? Here's the 8th. They're saying that the density is going to spike. Okay, and I talked about this before. Okay, now if you go down here to the wind speed, I want you guys to notice something real quick. Do you see these two numbers, 400, 600? Okay, they do this often, and I don't know why they do it. I still can't get it figured out exactly why, if they're doing it for good or bad reasons. But typically, that will say like 250 to 350. Okay, they've raised that, in my opinion, because now they can put this graph at the bottom and make it look like it ain't no big deal. Okay, that's my opinion. You know, you can have other, obviously you can have your own opinion, it's fine. And I would respect that. But what I want to point out here is that, and I've said this before, that when the wind speed goes up, the density should go down, and vice versa. Okay? But as you can tell right here on the 8th, like I did this yesterday, I think, they both go up at the same time, guys. You see the wind speed start going up. You see this one go up. Then it starts coming back down. Okay? And this one even does the same. So when we see that, that is indication that we're going to get a stronger impact. Okay? And I've explained before why. Now this is the ACE model. Okay? You're not going to see that multi-day thing. You can see the hours, I think. Is it the hours? Yep. See the hours down here? Oops. Sorry about that, guys. They're down here at 6 UTC, and it goes all the way to 6 UTC the next day. It's 24 hours. All right. Now, the orange line is the density. Okay. The yellow line's the wind speed. Now, what I want you guys to pay attention to here is this wind speed stays pretty much steady, and it even actually goes up a little bit. But look, this is why we're getting such a hard impact right now the last few hours. If you go back and you look, what first wave hit us, I just showed you guys, was at 2200 UTC, right? Oops. Let me raise that up a little bit. 22 is right here. Okay? 2200 is right here. So that's when that density started going up, and it stayed up, and that's why we're getting this reaction right now. That's why our magnetosphere is reacting like it is. So, you know, regardless of where this energy is coming from, the fact of the matter is this is going to increase our risk for earthquakes, and stronger ones, and I think we need to really pay attention, guys. I really do. So I'm going to leave it at that. God bless. I'll give you some more updates here in the next couple days. If something big happens, I'll pop on. But just pay attention, guys. We're going to be getting hit with this for a while now. It's going to keep going, guys. This isn't going to slow down. So, it is what it is, and let's just pray for those guys out there that were affected from the bigger earthquakes. And let's just pray that it doesn't happen anymore. Nothing real big. You know, the energy's got to be transferred somewhere, and I would suggest you guys go check out Dutch Sense when he talks about that energy, you know, transferring down and going certain directions. You know, and then Scott will actually integrate, you know, Planet X into this conversation. He does a really good job with that. I've learned so much just from, you know, watching him and Dutch Sense and everybody else. And again, I can't talk much on the earthquake subject. All I can say is what I'm seeing, you know, magnetically here. But anyway, guys, God bless. Yeshua saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.